It's a wild time, right? To think that in a city like New York, that someone could disappear so easily.
A manhunt is underway for the assassin who took out one of the most powerful business leaders in this country.
One of the things that I think breaks through oftentimes is a manhunt.
Allegedly or reportedly, a silencer may have been used.
The motive for this murder currently is unknown.
Many people sought vengeance on their own behalf.
People are celebrating someone who's accused of gunning down a man.
Really was a modern-day assassination.
It's December 4th. It's the busiest time in New York City. We're approaching the holiday season. Brian Thompson wakes up to speak at a conference. As he's approaching the side entrance of the Hilton, there's the gunman who steps out from the street onto the sidewalk and then shoots him in the back and the leg, and Brian falls to the ground. The gunman is very precise. He knows who he's looking for. Kind of takes a couple of hours for the news to get out there and for people to realize the magnitude.
A cold-blooded assassination this morning outside the Hilton Midtown Hotel.
United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson shot in cold blood this morning. That happened in one of the busiest places on earth.
And that is just crazy. You can start to see the interest just grow. Who did this and why?
If he was truly targeted, I think somebody probably made a lot of money, and that's really terrible.
It's so scary. It's to think that the shooter is still out there.
Police launch a massive manhunt. So after the shooting, from what police can tell, he gets on the bike and he goes a couple of blocks and enters the park at around 6:48 a.m. The next time police capture him on surveillance video is when he's getting in a yellow taxi cab on 86th Street, heading towards, they believe at that point, to a bus station. As police are going through the crime scene, they find the shell casings and the bullets they believe were used in this crime. And what police say they find are the words delay, deny, and depose, and right away they realize that this may have something to do with the health insurance industry.
So, how big is UnitedHealthcare? Well, more than 50 million Americans are on it. In terms of its revenue, nearly $300 billion. According to the Fortune 500 list, UnitedHealth Group is in the top 5. You know, we're talking about companies like Walmart and Apple.
There's this corporate video of Brian Thompson speaking about all the great things his company is doing to help people get health care.
Our mission and values are focused on helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone.
Most folks would have had no idea who he was. There really has not been a name to associate with all this frustration in terms of healthcare in this country. But now I think for some people there is a name that is associated with it.
Thank you very much.
Then in about 5 hours or so, police would hold a press conference.
Right now, we are asking the public for your help.
And even there, they didn't have a full picture. He moved around without causing any kind of suspicion.
We did have video, enough to know what occurred, but we certainly did not know who the suspect was or really had a good idea of what he looked like. And then all of a sudden, we start getting better images.
Pictures show him at a Starbucks, just 2 blocks from the shooting site.
Part of the reason why Americans stayed tuned in was because there always seemed to be some new development happening. First, we were able to get a look at his face with the mask on, then with his mask off.
New images of what the NYPD is calling a person of interest.
This could be a major break in the case.
The moment that photos started coming out about him, it started taking a turn.
Because a lot of people find him really attractive.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why so many people are supporting it?
Honestly, yeah.
It's the halo effect, like, manifesting in real society.
People couldn't, I think, in some ways believe that someone who looked like this would commit this kind of a crime.
Support is exploding online.
People are joking about the suspect being sexy, talking about Brian Thompson. We saw people saying, sorry, you didn't get prior authorization for my thoughts and prayers. Everybody gets sick, everyone has to go to the doctor. Everyone has experienced the cold, heartless bureaucracy of it.
People forget that these numbers that they're interacting with affects actual people's lives.
The anger was very clear and direct. People jumped online to share their stories.
Because United Healthcare had just denied my son a refill for his life-saving medication.
Do you have a story about United Healthcare? Because I sure as hell do.
I saw a million stories like that, having been denied care or their children having been denied care.
If you were to ask Americans, whether or not the health care in this country is excellent or good, less than a third say that the coverage is excellent or good.
People are responsible for their own actions, but this murder doesn't happen without the greater context of resentment, distrust in institutions.
The meeting of the Security Council is called to order.
The breakdown in trust has been going on for 2 decades.
The purpose of that resolution was to disarm Iraq of its weapons of mass destruction.
It started with the Iraq War. There were no weapons of mass destruction. It worsened with the financial crisis and the bailout of the banks. Well, normal people lost their homes. It was like the emperor has no clothes. It's when they realized that the institutions did not have the answers that they thought they would.
It leads to frustration, and more than that, it leads to hopelessness. And when you have hopelessness, actions that cannot be tolerated, at least in some corners of the country, are tolerated. Viewpoints towards the healthcare industry are so negative in this country that folks were willing to look past the fact that a father and a husband was shot dead.
The people in these higher positions, like CEOs, they need to look at the cost of living and the cost of their products, and they need to do better.
Good, how are you doing? What a way to start, right?
I'm sitting interviewing the police commissioner and the chief of detectives. You believe he's no longer
We
here.
said we have reason to believe he's no longer in New York
And
City.
that, I assume, is based on video of...
We have video of him entering the Port Authority bus terminal. We don't have any video of him exiting, so we believe he may have gotten out.
No one knew where he was for a whole weekend, but police were still working. They were getting hundreds and hundreds of tips, reviewing hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage. On Monday, December 9th at 9:14 a.m., police finally get their big break. The suspect is seen sitting in McDonald's eating a hash brown, and an employee of the McDonald's calls 911. At 9:58 a.m. in Altoona, Pennsylvania, the police there take him into custody. And there they discover that he has fake IDs, a gun in his bag. This gun is really interesting because it's a ghost gun.
You can't trace a ghost gun because it's done, in many cases, through 3D printing. This is a guy who literally was able to print his gun.
But also in the bag, they find his passport. And that is where they learn his real name, Luigi Mangione. That night, the Manhattan DA's office files charges against him for murder in the 2nd degree, criminal possession of a weapon, and then also a forgery charge.
If they have charged the right guy, Mangione's story is quite surprising. He's not some poor guy from a broken family.
He has relatives who are wealthy and a big part of the community. He went to an expensive private school for high school where he was valedictorian.
Sending us to Gilman was far from a small financial investment.
He went to the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school. He got a master's degree in computer science. He eventually ended up in Hawaii in a surf commune. He had a lot of friends.
He seemingly has everything going right for him. He had so much opportunity, from wealth to education. How did he develop these feelings to the point where he decided to wake up one morning, plan all of this out? Something changes in his life.
On Reddit, his purported profile is many, many comments about his extreme back pain and the lengths he's gone to try to get treatment. There's also reports from friends that he kind of fell off the face of the earth for 6 months. There's some reports that he got really into psychedelics. I think it's very telling that his manifesto is very, very short. He says he acted alone, that the US has by far the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and that he's the only one who's able to grapple with this fact with brutal honesty.
The manifesto, in many ways, speaks of kind of a martyr. On Tuesday, December 10th, he has a court appearance to be extradited back to New York City to face that murder charge. The sheriff's office is transporting him to the court, and as they arrive, Luigi Mangione sees cameras there, and it's very apparent he has something to say. And then you see the sheriff's office struggling with him and pushing him into the courthouse. So the next steps here really are the extradition hearing. He is going to have to face those murder charges. He will get indicted, and then we're going to have court proceedings.
The NYPD commissioner tonight is announcing that the gun that your client had on him when he was arrested matches the 3 shell casings at the scene of the murder in New York.
I still haven't seen that evidence. Lawyers need to see evidence.
I saw someone tweet about jury nullification, that this would be like OJ. I wouldn't be surprised if it all ends with a hung jury, but who knows?
I think we forget how sad all of this is, but this is a hit on something with so many people who think healthcare is so crappy. They have a hard time having empathy.
He left a very powerful message, and he highlighted how terrible the healthcare system is in America. I think he'll go down as a hero in history.
A modern-day Robin Hood, right? The idea is that this guy is fighting for us before we knew anything about him, even before we knew his name.
It's sad in many ways, but it's really, really interesting of where we are right now as a country.